Alright guys, today we are talking about finding angles and arcs. We are going around the circle. So, first we're going to talk about central angles. So just remember the central angle is one where the endpoints come out here to the circumference and the vertex is here at the center. It's called a central angle because part of it is at the center. So, remember they create arcs. Here's your little intercepted arc here for your central angle between the endpoints. Central angles are the easiest ones to find the measure of. So today we're just going to talk about finding the degree measure of arcs. Arcs, they have a length, and we're going to talk about in the next lessons how to find the length of an arc. But for today we're just going to talk about finding its degree measure. So central angles, they have the same degree measure as their arcs. So for example, if this central angle was 105 degrees, then its arc is going to be 105 degrees. But remember, I can go both directions. So if the arc is 105 degrees, then I also know that the central angle is 105 degrees. Important that you remember you can go both directions. Alright, so let's hit inscribed angles and their arcs. So remember that inscribed angle, they have all of their points are on the outside edge, out on the circumference of the circle. All 3 points. Now for inscribed angles, here's its arc. Its arc is going to be bigger than its degree measure. In fact, it's actually twice the size, which makes sense because if you think about it, this center is a lot closer to the arc. And watch, as I go across here, when I'm closer to the angle, this distance here is shorter. The further I get out, my arc distance gets longer and longer and longer. So by the time I've gone clear across the circle, then it's twice the size as it originally was. So that if, say, this inscribed angle down here, like right here, it's 35 degrees, by the time I get out here, my arc is going to be 35 times 2, which is 70 degrees. Okay. Alright, so let's do a little bit of practice. Just to kind of show you what I would do. So if I say, okay, where is AGF? AGF is right there. And if I say that this is 75 degrees, then I want to know what its arc is. When I say, hey, wait, that's a central angle. So that means if this is 75 degrees, then its arc is also going to be 75 degrees. Then I'm going to say, okay, what about CFE? So I say, okay, CFE. Oh, that's an inscribed angle. So that means if that one were 44, then its arc is going to be 44 times 2, which is 88, sorry. 2 8s there. And then I'm going to say, all right, well, let's go backwards. What if I know that arc AD measures 110 degrees? Well, then what is angle AED? So I'm going to say, okay, AED. That's an inscribed angle. That means it's half of its arc. So I'm going to say, okay, well, what is half of 110? So I'm going to say, well, half of 110 is 55. So that means AED would measure 55 degrees. Okay. And then in the same situation, what is with this arc right here, AD being 110, what would angle AGD be? And then I'm going to say, well, AGD is a central angle, so it has the same measure as its arc. So AGD would be 110 degrees. All right. Okay. So sometimes you are going to have to figure things out as far as they're only going to give you part of the angles, and you're going to have to figure out what the other angle is just using what you know about angles and about circles. So the first thing I want you to remember is that a straight line is 180 degrees. And remember, that is true even if my straight line is at a diagonal. This straight line also, all of the angles add up to be 180 degrees. Okay? So we're going to go back though to the first way, because I want you to look at this. With a circle, I go 180 degrees to go around this way, and then I go 180 degrees to go around this way. So if I go 180 degrees this way, and then I go 180 degrees this way, the full circle is 360 degrees, okay? So that's how many degrees it is in a whole circle. All right, so I want you guys to see, let's see how we can find the missing degrees here. So remember, I know that this half right here, just to get this whole straight line, is 180 degrees. If I want to find this x, all I have to do is say, okay, what's 180 minus this 45 and minus that 60 degrees? And then I say, oh, 75. Because 75 plus 60 plus 45, that's going to add up to be 180 degrees. Okay, but what if instead of that, I cut up the circle like this so there's no straight line? Then I say to myself, ho ho, you've not fooled me yet, because I know that a whole circle is 360 degrees. So I'd say, okay, this 105 and this 135 and this x all have to add up to be 360 degrees. So I'd say, what's 360 minus 105 minus 135? And after I do that, I see that this right here is going to be 120 degrees. All right, so let's put it all together. All right, so don't worry, stay calm. These problems take multiple steps. This is kind of what it's going to look like on your homework though, and what it'll look like on your test. So first one, I'm going to walk you through this one, and then I'm going to have one on the next one that I want you to practice, okay? So if I just tell you that this arc right here is 70 degrees, and I want you to find this angle, let's see if we can do that, okay? So we're going to start with what we know. So I know that this is 180 degrees, right? Because it's a straight line. So I'm going to say, cool, got that down. Then I'm going to say, well, that also means that it's arc. See, because it's going through the center, so it is a central angle. So I know that its arc is also 180 degrees. So let's see if I can figure out, oh hey, I know this arc right here because I gave you that this was 70 degrees. So I know that whatever AC is here plus 70 degrees makes up 180. So if I just do 180 minus this 70, I can see that right here, just right here, is 110 degrees. All right, so now I'm going to say, well, what angles are attached to this arc so that there's more angles I can figure out? And then I look down and I say, okay, well, AEC is attached and ADC is attached. And then I look and I say, wait a second, ADC is the angle I want. Woo! And then, so I'm like, all right, so forget that AEC because this is the angle I want anyway. And then I'm going to say, hey, it's an inscribed angle, right? Because all the points are on the outside, and it doesn't matter that it's kind of sideways like this. It's still an inscribed angle and will still follow all the rules of an inscribed angle. So that means this question mark right here is just going to be half of 110 degrees. So that means that my angle I'm after is 55 degrees. Woo! We win! All right, feel free to go back through that. I know I went a little fast, but now it's your turn to try one. Okay, so make sure you pause the video and you try it. Even if you get it wrong, you try it. And if you get stuck, just hit play for a second so that you can see one step, then pause it again and try it again and see if you can get it from that step. And do that each time until either the problem's solved or until you're able to solve it on your own, okay? Don't just listen through to the end. Okay, here's your next step. So first I'm going to say, okay, I have these angles here. What do I know about their arcs? So I'm going to say, all right, well, first easiest one is my central angle always, because the central angle and the central arc are the same. So I'm going to say, okay, so if this angle is 74, this arc is 74. Next, I'm going to say, what is this angle right here? And yes, CAD bed. I love this with angles. All right, so I'm going to say, oh, this is an inscribed angle. So that means its arc is going to be twice its measure. So 82 times 2 is 164. So from here clear over to here, B to D is going to be 164 degrees. Cool. All right. Next step, I'm going to say, hey, wait a second. All of the degrees inside the circle add up to be 360. That means all the degrees all the way around the outside add up to be 360 degrees as well. So look at this. I know this arc, and this arc. I know all, well, I guess this 164 is actually this whole arc here. So I bet I could find this DE right here. So I'm going to say, okay, so I'm going to say 360 minus 164 minus 135. That means this arc right here, DE, is 61. Okay, now I'm going to say, okay, well, what information does that give me? And I'm going to say, well, let me look at the angle that I want. This is the angle right here that I want, this CBE. And then I'm going to say, well, what arc is attached to that? Oh, CE. Oh, wait a second. I already have this part of CE, and I have this part of CE. So if I just add those two together, then I see that CE, this whole green arc here, is 135 degrees. And so, wait, this is an inscribed angle. That means this degree measure right here is just going to be half of 135 degrees. So then I do that really quick. Notice how it's here for me. Then I find that the missing angle that you were after is 65.5 degrees. Yay! All right. And that is all you need to get out of this lesson. Go ahead and go do your assignment now. Thanks.